Hi, everyone. My name is Whitney Donhauser. I'm the Ronay Menschel Director and President of the Museum of the City of New York. For nearly a century, the Museum of the City of New York has been documenting New York stories in all aspects of city life. Whether it's a story of pickup basketball games on neighborhood courts, healthcare heroes working on the front lines, or activists fighting for a change. I'm pleased to welcome you to another engaging conversation with curators from the couch. Our video series featuring important and relevant voices and topics stream from our own living room to yours. Much of our digital content has been shining a spotlight on exhibitions that are currently mounted at the museum, including City Game Basketball in New York, which opened in mid-February, right before New York was put on pause due to the coronavirus. It's a wonderful exhibition featuring the legacy of basketball in the city, the excitement, energy, and evolution of this quintessentially urban sport, and what it means to New York now as we start our phased reopening. I can't wait to welcome you back to the museum. So even though we remain closed for the time being, we'll continue to do our best to share stories that shine a light on New York's history, its diversity, its joy, its work, and its play. So with that, I will turn it over to our curator, Lilly Tuttle, to share more about this exhibition and to introduce our guests. So thank you, and take it away, Lilly.
Thanks, Whitney. Hello, everyone. My name is Lilly Tuttle, and I am the curator of City Game Basketball in New York, as Whitney mentioned, which opened at the museum in mid-February. Welcome to the third installation of Curators from the Couch. I'm here on my couch, so to speak, and you're in for an exciting conversation today. Over the next 30 minutes, we'll be talking about City Game Basketball in New York with artist Eric Haze and NBA legend Sam Perkins. First, a little background to get us started. City Game Basketball in New York is an exhibition that captures the excitement and evolution of this quintessentially urban game and the energy of the diverse New Yorkers who play it and love it. It features original objects and ephemera alongside photography, audio, and video. The exhibition content highlights the connections between basketball, music, and fashion, and enables the visitors to relive historic highs and lows and learn how basketball and New York have shaped each other. The evolution of basketball is embedded in New York City history, and this dramatic story can be traced through schoolyards, street corners, gymnasiums, and large arenas. It's a culture that cuts across race, ethnicity, class, and language. From early roots in immigrant communities and the Harlem Renaissance to renowned celebrity players, the sport really reflects the city's cultural, social, and economic history. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce our two guests. First up, NBA legend Sam Perkins, aka the Big Smooth, who spent 17 seasons in the NBA. Brooklyn-born, Sam played basketball for the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and alongside teammates Michael Jordan and James Worthy won the 1982 NCAA championship title. He went on to be co-captain of the U.S. Olympic men's basketball team, leading them to a gold medal at the 1984 Summer Olympics in LA. He was selected 4th overall in the 1984 draft by the Dallas Mavericks and had stints with the Lakers, the Seattle Supersonics, and the Indiana Pacers before retiring in 2001. Sam is incredibly active in his community, volunteering in organizations including the Special Olympics, the Boys and Girls Club, Big Brothers, NBA Cares, Basketball Without Borders, and Habitat for Humanity. He's also a spokesman of the Nothing But Nets program, which is a charity that strives to deliver quality mosquito netting to Africans in an attempt to reduce the spread of malaria. We had the pleasure of having Sam attend our winter basketball event in February to present Kareem Abdul-Jabbar with our Gotham Icon Award. Welcome, Sam. Next up, Eric Haze. Our another guest on the couch is the amazing Eric Haze, an incredible artist, designer, and so much more. Born and raised in New York City, Haze cut his teeth in the early 1980s as part of Soul Artists, an influential New York City graffiti collective. He's exhibited alongside Keith Haring and Jean-Michel Basquiat, two friends of his, at MoMA PS1. He showed at the Tony Shafrazi Gallery and later sent his graphic, non-figurative paintings around the world. He also formed a thriving design business with clients including the Beastie Boys, Public Enemy, and LL Cool J, just to name a few. More recently, he's designed clothing and spaces for Nike and the Standard Hotel, and yes, the Brooklyn Nets. His work is featured very heavily, including that jersey, in City Game. Thank you both so much for being here. It's an honor to have just such two incredible figures, New Yorkers, involved with the world of basketball together here with me. So the first question I wanted to ask both of you, we'll start with Sam. What brought you to basketball, and what does the game mean to you?
Well, thanks for having me, first of all, Lily. I can't. I don't know. So many things introduced me to basketball coming out of New York, Brooklyn. It was a playground. Every playground that was around in public schools or parks, it gravitated you to those settings. And as a young Black kid, basketball was something that was played by everybody. So when that took place, I wanted to do that the same thing as well. So it probably just kind of gravitated me to the parks, and friends were doing it, and that's all we were doing, playing basketball in our free time. And when free time like that in New York City and Brooklyn, especially for a young kid like me, that's all you wanted to do. And you had aspirations because you saw other people do it. And I saw some great players play. I sat on the sidelines for a long time just looking at them. And then I would go home and emulate them in my backyard and started playing. So it's a 2, 3, 4 part, 5-part question, but there was a lot of things that went into it. And I can only say that I just had aspirations. I wanted to be like somebody. I followed the New York Knickerbockers at the time. They were called Knickerbockers at the time, not New York Knicks. Yeah. And with all those guys on that team, Earl Monroe, Walt Frazier, Willis Reed, Dave Butcher, Lucas, Dick Meminger, that's why I started playing.
Cool. Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, what a time. What about you, Haze? What does basketball mean to you? What's drawn you to your work with the Brooklyn Nets, or what is it? I don't know. How has it shaped you as an artist?
Well, I guess first of all, I was until graffiti in the streets found me at 11, 12 years old, I was just a basketball kid. I mean, I was a gym rat. I was the kid who stayed after school and practices 3. And, as Sam said, we sort of came up in a very, very golden era of New York basketball. I mean, not just the people who came out of the high schools and the colleges in our area, but that was the golden era. Clyde, Willis, Earl, Bradley, DeBuscher, and there were other eras we've lived through. The 4-point shot and a lot of great stuff. We all, I believe, as New Yorkers, started out as Knicks fans. That's another conversation about the Nets coming up a little later on. But I was that kid, and I had a couple magic moments as a kid too. I was actually called out of class, I think, when I was 10 years old, to shoot a couple hoops with DeBuscher and Bradley when the Knicks had taken the crown and they were doing a tour of New York schools the following year for promotional stuff. Well, I was that kid, so I got called out of class, and between that and one magic lifetime moment where my wife and I got to watch a Knicks game courtside with Willis and his wife, that was a magical circle of life. But it's in our blood. It's in our blood.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's a great personal anecdote, I have to say. Wow. And the exhibition does coincide with the 50th anniversary of that Knicks 1970 season. I want to ask you a little bit, we're getting into full summer here, but what a few months we've had, and what a few weeks we've had. I wanted to ask you a little bit about your thoughts on the summer of 2020. Summer basketball is such a huge tradition in New York City. Rucker Park, the cage at West Fourth. Are you guys having any thoughts about if we're not going to be able to play basketball, what that means, or what the sort of the summer tournament and pickup culture really, how that shapes the city, and how you're feeling with it sort of not around right now?
Well, the
Sam?
okay, it just seems like with all that's going on and all the things that have happened unexpectedly, with the virus and with the sickness and the death, and then the protests and all things considered, it seems like it just disrupted everybody's itinerary.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell that it just kind of came from like overnight. And basketball seems to be, one of the main focuses that everybody loves: the playoffs. They love the NCAA, March Madness, the runner up to the championship finals and all that things and us and playoffs. It just seems like it just was taken away just like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think basketball is on everybody's minds, just the sports world, and not just basketball, but all sports considered: baseball,
Mm-hmm.
football, the WNBA.
Mm-hmm.
It took a lot of energy it took the air out of a lot of people, and you're so uncertain because of the mixed messaging and the way politics is handling the situation, and people are trying to do right, and there's other people who probably like caring less about it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of an uneven platform because of the fact that we have so many people doing their own thing, and when business comes, like playing basketball and hockey and football, I think it's on the back burner to
Mm-hmm.
so many people. There's fans, there are true sports fans that really want it back, but I think there are more people trying to, unemployment, trying to get back to work, and they're not thinking about basketball. To me, I mean, I'm on the fence with it, but I know there's so many other things that people are worried about, considering their kids. Schools are closed. Kids have been out of school for like months. So with that said, you have a lot of people changing their itinerary, their plans for the day, and basketball is probably on the backside of things. But sports is definitely going to been hurt for a while now.
Yeah. Eric, do you have anything to
Um,
add?
I agree with Sam 100%. These are delicate times where we sort of all have to sort of address the pressing concerns, address the concerns of humanity. Leisure, sports, and things that were a luxury in our lives have now sort of understandably been compromised in the name of more important pressing issues, be they health issues, be they social justice issues. We're I have mixed feelings too, like Sam said, where on one hand, this is a crisis, this is a disaster. If they're not feeling the impact now, they will down the road, because this is a big sort of ripple effect we're going to be looking at. But um, at the same time, I've got to believe that this has been a wake up call for humanity. It's been a wake up call for our priorities. It's been a wake up call for respecting our brothers and recognizing, so many of the injustices that so many people have to endure every day. And that's our focus. If basketball as a model, as a community, as a powerful organization can continue to promote that kind of change and continue to sort of raise their hand for social justice while we still ball, it could be a win-win. We could get back on the court, but we could get back on the court with an attitude adjustment and a new sense of purpose. And I think, cats like Sam and people who have had the opportunity to live in the light, myself included, we understand that if we're given a platform and we have a voice, be it basketball, be it art, be it the kind of engagement we're doing now, it's a difficult but powerful time in the world right now, and hopefully, I don't want to get too partisan or anything, but we got 6 months to right the ship, and hopefully that's going to happen. And it's my I keep it short, but my feeling is that we all just have to accept the world on pause. It's not about like, what day are we going to get back on the court? What day are my jobs going to, people going to fly in from Asia again for that meeting that got canceled in April? I feel like we should all just take a breath, be safe, not sorry, not be premature about considering anything over in social or medical terms, and accept that 2020 is a difficult year of radical change. And even like the question I was asking about the exhibition itself, I would like to think we all just eat a year, write a year,
Start the
write it.
clock over.
Let's just write this year off.
Yeah.
Everybody try and do the right thing in difficult
Yeah.
circumstances, with the mindset that when we reset and players hit the court and exhibitions open and artists have room to breathe again, that we'll pick up right where we left off and get on with the business of living.
Yeah, I agree with you. Someone said to me, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And so you got to pace yourself. Hayes, while I have you, I just wanted to ask quickly, I know you've been involved in some mural projects that have been very responsive. Can you tell us quickly just like what you did and a little bit of the backstory?
Sure. It's really snowballed over the last few weeks. Obviously, with the George Floyd situation, everybody was sort of moved to take a stand, if they were moved at all. And my first stand was to just create a series of graphics I posted online. One George Floyd graphic, one Black Lives Matter graphic, and one Love Not Hate, very simple message graphic. And happily, they received sort of phenomenally positive response and recycling. And the mural installation project we're talking about, that I hope we can show too while we speak, is that it was simply a light bulb moment. It was simply a DIY. I pictured the graphic that was on a computer screen 50 feet tall in the city, and simply picked up the phone to one of my top sign painter friends, who picked up the phone to another one of his sign painter friends who happened to work at a large mural company in the city. And they just asked a couple of their young painter if they were down for the project. And, simply put, there was no sponsors, no partners, no setup, no media plan. It was just one person trying to make a difference and calling a few other people who wanted to make a difference. And at the end of the day, 7 New Yorkers, including African American, Asian, Latino, and Caucasian group of people, got together. 7 people I never met before in my life woke up at 6:30 a.m. on Sunday morning to get this done.
Wow, there it is.
So that was it was a light bulb moment that amazingly came to fruition in 5 days with no red tape and no nothing but the intention to use my voice, use our voice, and use our skills and platform to spread something positive right now, because God knows we need it.
That's awesome. That's terrific. I think it's maybe like a upside of this moment is maybe you were able to cut through some red tape that might have been there otherwise. Congrats.
Thank you.
I want to ask Sam a question now, kind of going back, taking our minds back out of this current difficult moment, Sam. And I want to ask you, you've played on every type of court. You've played on playgrounds and in major arenas. You played at the Olympics. Where's your favorite place to play? Or what's like a favorite moment? Like, I just would love to know, from someone who's had a career like yours, played with some of the, really part of a great generation of players. Just to take us out on a really upbeat note.
Well, going back, I mean, it's going to be in Brooklyn too. The other favorite spot was North Carolina. I had a great time playing there, Dean Smith. But my first time playing, or a couple of times playing, was the first time that I really loved was West Fourth.
Of course.
Played in West Fourth Park. And as a kid, there was a little tournament there. And I remember my numbers are falling off my reversible. And I think my number was like 10. The time I finished, it was 0 because the 1 had fell off. And in the park, I've never seen so many people gather to see so many kids play because the game was so competitive. But those parks back then, to me, was probably the growing stage. The reason why I started playing, because it just gave me so much confidence when I played in those parks against so many people, and you had some success. That's all we wanted to do. So your friends were out there, and you started getting acknowledgments that you could play. And so once you get the New York people saying that you can play, you feel like you can play. And I've played in Rucker, and I was on a team that had 16, 17-year-olds, and I was only 14, going 15. And to see those people climb on the fence, because they couldn't get in the park, is just madness, crazy with people talking smack, and you got women out there, I didn't have a girlfriend at the time, so there was all kinds of people out there just looking at you. So if you did good, you did good.
Yeah.
But I remember hitting my first shot, and the guy, the coach by the name of George Merton, and he was an exceptional coach because he would always yell at you, punch you in the chest, and things of that nature. That's that Brooklyn mentality. And if your parents heard about it, they wouldn't do anything about it because they knew what type of coach he was. But point was, I got into the game, and he put me in, and I don't even know how this ball went in, but it hit the side of the backboard, and it was in a corner shot. It hit the side of the backboard and kind of just went into the hoop. And I felt like I arrived at that time because everybody thought it was a crazy but nice shot. I didn't think it was a nice shot, but I thought it was a little more lucky than anything. But the whole atmosphere of Brooklyn, New York, just brought basketball to life. It's like under the lights during the day. It was almost like a ritual that you get up in the morning and you get to the park by 10 o'clock, 9:30, and you don't leave until sunset, sundown, because that's how we moved and stayed out of trouble. You would fight for your basketball if someone tried to take your basketball at the time.
Sure.
So you would not give this pill up, orange thing up for nothing. You might get a hit in somebody and then run with that ball all the way home, but on your bike or something. But the mentality back then was you played all day and you didn't want to lose, because if you lost, well, you would have to sit down the whole time until you get another chance to run, because there were so many guys picking teams, picking players. You got next. That's what it was. You got next, I got next, and things of that nature. So, I mean, basketball was just so fun at the time. And those parks, West Fourth, Rucker, the Brevoort tournament, Brownsville, I mean, we had so much fun doing that, and it was part of the nostalgia, that history, that renaissance, as they call it, of Brooklyn ball.
That's amazing. Yeah. I mean, that sounds about right with everything I've heard in terms of, just the kind of the magic of the outdoor game and what the tournaments mean, and the pressure too. It's
Right.
like New York City has this really rich street pedestrian life. So if you step out on the cage at West 4th Street, I mean, you're stepping out on stage,
Right.
it's really like, people hanging on the cage. It's really, part of the experience. It's like this really intense dynamic. So that's incredible. Do you think there's a specific style of play in New York City? This is something we tried to get at a lot in the exhibition. Is like, do New Yorkers play differently than people in
I
Chicago or
so
LA?
I
It's like
tend
the big, like, what do
well,
you
I'm gonna
say,
be
Sam?
biased. I'm gonna be
Uh-huh.
biased. I think so because um there's a lot of guys I know from New York, and I probably didn't play against them, but even they coming up before me or behind me, they have that New York attitude, that street ball.
Mm-hmm.
It's an attitude that you play like you know how to play when you get on that court, and if you don't,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna be shown up.
Mm-hmm.
But I think everybody comes through. They call it the Mecca,
Mm-hmm.
and they call that for a reason, is because this is where things start in the street. I mean, there's Indiana basketball. Don't get me wrong, and that's
Mm-hmm.
almost like something totally different.
Mm-hmm.
Larry Bird is one of those Indiana boys. Isaiah is, all those guys. They play that Indiana basketball, but New York is you just got an attitude. It's the attitude of the streets. Even with I mean, you can see it through the graffiti and the murals. I mean, that brings in the whole concept of basketball, because you have so many icons like LL Cool J, the Beastie Boys. They all are part of that basketball scene, even though they don't play. It's just that attitude, how they go hard. And with all that, you have so many greats coming through New York, and with the basketball, with the New York Knicks, and now the Brooklyn Nets. Even before them, you had a abundance of players that came from that same tree grows in Brooklyn, in a sense, that they all know what that means. And so when that happens, you go out there and you just don't know who you're going to meet next, because there was a Mark Jackson, there was a Chris Mullin, there was a Rod Strickland, there was a Pearl Washington. I mean, we all went through that same, I guess, threshold of know how to play basketball. And you go to LA, it's nothing like it. There's no park like Rucker.
Yeah.
I don't think there is. You go to
Yeah.
DC, that might be the closest, but everybody comes right back to New York because they know New York is filled with so many talented brothers and
Yeah.
players that you have to go through this channel before you get
Yeah.
recognition, in a sense.
I think we might have time for a question or two from the audience. I I think we may have been getting some questions via Facebook.
Yeah.
But hey, Robin.
Hi. So we got a comment from Tanya on Facebook, and they grew up near Rucker and sort of fell asleep to the sounds of basketball. And they said that basketball is such a part of the city's identity. So why do you think that is?
Why do I think it is? Because like I stated, it's like you see it every day. We even on weekends. I was telling somebody that when I go through New York now, you see empty playgrounds. Back then, years ago, there was not a playground that was. It was almost like an attendance of a game or something like that. People were waiting to play. And if you had to get there early, that's why I say 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. is a little too late. You had to get there like 8:30, 9:30 to claim this court. And so when people see that, it's just an attitude of the swag of New York, Brooklyn ball. Rucker Park was synonymous with greatness, great players. Connie Hawkins, Bernard King, Albert King. I mean, Michael Ray Richardson. I mean, like I said, you had to check in through this channel of playing basketball before anybody gave you your star of approval. And so when I went as a young kid, and I was playing with older kids, older guys, but I got my stamp of approval. And then when I went back, they knew who you were. And so it's just part of New York. The scene, the city lights, the nightlife, 42nd. That's all part of, basketball is trenched within all under those lights. And that's why when you hear the bouncing of the ball, it's not like a noise. People be like, stop bouncing it. They just know it's part of Brooklyn life, New York life.
Definitely. That's what this exhibition is all about. Robin, do we have time for any more questions?
If you could just talk maybe, Lily, about what part of New York basketball history you found most surprising or interesting, and maybe you want to just share a little bit more about the exhibition for those of us.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. So I will tell our viewers that I was pretty new to basketball when I started this project. I'm a born and raised New Yorker, and I know all sorts of things about New York City and its people and places, but I think I would say the two things that sort of interested me and excited me the most, one was, and these really speak to a lot of what both Haze and Sam have been saying today about just like the energy and the determination of New Yorkers, and just what the singularity of the space is. One, I think, is learning about Madison Square Garden, like in the 1950s in particular, like the old Garden, and how college basketball was such a big thing there, and that it just these like double headers, triple headers, and the whole story of CCNY, and they had this integrated team that really was, for 1950, that was really shocking to a lot of their opponents who came in from, places like Kentucky, but they would have these totally sold out game, and these college players, like in New York City, a New York team versus New York team, it was like CCNY and NYU and Fordham and LIU, and that was just like, what a moment that was. And then sort of jumping ahead about 20 years, the pictures of the games at Rucker Park, and seeing like Dr. J and Tiny Archibald, and the stories about Connie Hawkins and Wilt Chamberlain. I mean, it's like one of those moments where you sort of say, I really wish I could have been there, because we've all seen these pictures, and they're featured in the exhibition. Of the kids like hanging from the trees or climbing up on the fence or sitting on top of the schoolyard, and some of the footage of Julius Erving out there. It really feels like it was this moment, and what I tell our students when we have young people come through the exhibition, when we did, is to explain to people that all these kids would show up at Rucker Park, but they didn't have Instagram, they didn't have text messages, they didn't have Twitter, there was no like hashtag to tell them where to go. It was like, this was just word of mouth, and that's how important this game and this culture was at the time, because everybody just knew, and it was where you had to be. And I think that that's such a singular and exciting moment.
If I can grab a final word, I'm here.
Yeah.
I just wanted to reinforce what Sam said. This is New York. We roll different. We do for self, and New Yorkers don't wait for anybody to tap them on the back to get ready and get busy. Bernard Hopkins once said, if you're a champion, they said, you got a big fight coming up, how are you training? He said, training? I train every day like the big fight is tomorrow. If you want to be a champ, you train every day like every day is a championship fight. And that's how New Yorkers roll. I think, we are when the when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. I wanted to say, for what Sam was saying about West 4th Street, man, that was big boy ball. That was the
Yeah.
place where, like, if you could hang, if
Yeah.
you could hang and come through the School of Hard Knocks at West 4th, you were there, baby. You were there.
Yeah.
That was, you know, I'm sure New Yorkers throw a little more elbows than everybody else too. That's how we do. But at the end of the day, you know, I'm struck by what Sam said, which is that didn't matter what else was going on in your universe. If you had a basketball, you had something to do. If you had a magic marker, you know, we were young cats trying to find our identity through a sport or a medium or a community of our choice. Similarly with basketball in Rucker and Brownsville and West 4th, graffiti had hot spots in the Bronx and Brooklyn and Manhattan, and it didn't matter what borough you were from. If you had heart and you had skill and you were down to get on the train and run to the Bronx to meet these cats, you got accepted for having the heart to step out of your comfort zone and get down. And I feel that's a parallel with basketball as it is with the arts. So we were with graffiti. It was an inclusive community. We recognized each other.
Right.
You know, even if you weren't getting props from your dad when you got home, you got props from your people that afternoon for putting it down. And that all gave us a sense of belonging and a sense of our own identity and something to hang on to that we learned to excel at. So that my real point was that, you know, I think that's the essence of New York, and that's how we're built when we're formed by the streets, if you will. That you know, it's a school in hard knocks, and it takes perseverance. Same way, you know, you want to be starting five, you got to spend years in that gym. It's perseverance, it's practice, it's believing in yourself and staying with your goals. And you know, Sam is a living example of that, coming out the schoolyard to top of the mountain. And you know, it's we're not all born with the same skills, but we're all born with the same ability to apply ourselves if we choose. And you know, basketball and art are two of the powerful outlets in the inner city here that we've both been blessed to have a good ride so far.
That's
so true.
very, very wise and powerful. And I think unfortunately we have to leave it there. But this has been terrific. It's been a boost to my spirits and just, you know, feeling kind of good for the soul to think about these two worlds of art and basketball and how they come together, and the energy and individuality and camaraderie. And I liked what you both said about the toughness that New Yorkers have. And, you know, but we've got to also just sort of focus and persevere right now. So I thank you both so much. It's so great to see both of your faces. And, you know, once we were face to face at the Museum of the City of New York, and we will be again. So that brings us to the end of this installation of Curators from the Couch. I want to thank Eric Haze and Sam Perkins so much for a great conversation. Of course, to MCNY's director, Whitney Donhauser, for kicking us off, and to all of our friends at the NBA and all of my colleagues at the Museum of the City of New York who helped us put this program together. I am going to make a quick plug for the companion book for City Game. It is a beautiful volume full of photography, essays, and interviews all about basketball in New York. It was co-published by the Museum of the City of New York and Rizzoli. If you cannot make it to the exhibition, you can purchase this book, maybe for Father's Day. But it's a wonderful volume. We're very, very proud of it. And it will be on sale in our shop once we reopen at a future date. So thank you so much for joining us. Please join us next Wednesday, June 17th at 6 p.m. for our virtual fundraiser, Champions and Changemakers, honoring New Yorkers who are making a difference during this time of pause. To learn more about that event or any of our exhibitions, collections, or to find out about other live streams and other events, please go to our website, mcny.org. And please feel free to share the link to this conversation with everyone you know, and tell everyone you know about the Museum of the City of New York. Thank you, Eric Haze. Thank you, Sam Perkins. It was wonderful to spend some time with you on the internet today.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Much
See you,
love,
Haze.
respect, Sam. It was a pleasure.
You too. You too,
Yeah.
man. Be
Take
safe.
care, guys. Be safe.
All right.
All right.